Welcome into the NBA Morning Deuce. Friday, November 20th, free agency Friday. It's crazy because normally the episode right after the draft, Alex, we'd still be breaking down the draft. But everything's moving so quickly this week. We don't have time. It's another day and another round of crazy news that just keeps coming out from the NBA. 6:00 tonight, by the way, is when free agents will be able to start signing with teams. Technically speaking, they're allowed to start negotiating and signing with teams. We know the deals are already worked out. Clearly, one Gordon Hayward has something worked out. And we'll talk about that. Him opting out of his $34 million deal, which is absurd, which no one expected. So he must have something in the works. But should be an interesting episode. But God, we don't even get to talk about the draft anymore. Draft's gone. Who cares? It's over.
Yeah, I'm like kind of cool with that, just because it would still all just be speculation. At least we get to speculate on guys that we've actually seen play in the NBA, Whereas instead of breaking down this draft and be like, he's going to be good, he's going to suck. We just don't know until they play at least like 45 games. Then we can start ripping guys to shreds. But
that's fair. So, by the way, yesterday, for those of you who tuned in live to our draft show, thank you. I mean, it was more than I expected for our first live stream. Those of you who have since watched and hit that like button, thank you also. If you missed it, you can go to Underdog's YouTube page. So if you just search the Underdog NBA Draft, you'll find it because we're one of their only NBA videos at the moment. So we're going to start building that up a little bit. But thank you guys. This is our second video that we're doing. If you want to go watch this will be up just a couple minutes after we're done recording. And we're going to go live every Thursday night now until the season starts. And then when the season starts, Alex, 5 days a week.
Wow.
Live 5 days a week after games are done every night. It's about to be real aggressive.
Since we've launched this video situation, I received one of the nicest compliments I've ever received. Inadvertently, from The Wire, one of your friends let you know that I'm less fat than he expected. So,
well, no. Well, yeah, yes. But they wanted, less fat than they wanted.
No, they wanted. That's okay. That's why it was like an inadvertent compliment. They were hoping I'd be fatter.
They were hoping you were going to be fat, and you're not fat. Well, I mean, at least from the shoulders up is all we started doing this. I don't know what's going on down below. But yeah, I guess that's sort of an inadvertent compliment of sorts. So, all right, we got a lot to get to in today's show. We'll start. I'm going to start with. We got to start with the toughest, the shittiest situation right now. We alluded to it yesterday on the show. Klay Thompson. He injured himself during a workout yesterday. Everyone was there's one guy, we showed the tweet there was a guy that tweeted that he tore his Achilles, but no one else was reporting that officially. Everyone was just saying serious injury, doesn't look good, looks bad, fear this, that. Today the Warriors officially announced that Klay Thompson is out for the season, with a torn Achilles. So I mean, look, before we get too far into any free agency or any of that stuff, we're talking about, this is a Hall of Fame career. I think if this was it, right? Which is, I don't think it is, but if it was, I think he goes in the Hall of Fame regardless. But we're talking about a guy who should end up going down as the second or third best shooter in the history of the league, and might not anymore statistically, because he's going to lose 2 seasons in his prime to injuries. It sucks.
It's really horrible. I actually thought he was a little bit older. He's only 30, so that is good news. I really wonder, and it's pure speculation on my part, but I just wonder in general, when guys try to come back from very serious injuries, like faster than maybe you would 10 years ago, if that leads to, compensation on other body parts and wear and tear, obviously, I don't know if the 2 injuries are related. I hope these guys, when they suffer their first serious injury, really are taking the time to rehab correctly. And I know that they've got all kinds of professionals and everything in Golden State, and it's not blame or anything like that. It's just it just sucks. He didn't even get back on the court, and he has another massive injury. Yeah. So,
no, I hear what you're saying, and I think it's true. I mean, I think when you look at even the finals last 2 years ago, when KD hurt himself, he got hurt, left, came back, tried to force it, and then tore his Achilles. So, and it seems like I don't know this. I'm just sort of going off of what I've seen. These Achilles injuries seem to be when guys overdo it, even though Achilles also is a very freak thing. But now this is the second time on the same team where we've seen a guy maybe not totally ready and tears his Achilles. Boogie Cousins, when he tore his Achilles, I don't remember. Was he coming off? I think that was just a freak injury, right?
Actually, I kind of think he might have had some knee issues. Was Klay Thompson an ACL? Is that correct?
Yeah, ACL.
I just wonder if in that rehab process, I mean, you know that he's rehabbing unbelievably aggressively. All these guys are. I just wonder if there's some strain that you don't even know what's going on in the background that leads to this sort of thing. It sucks, man.
Yeah, it does. It sucks for him. And I know like the focus for most people will be how badly this sucks for the Warriors. But I can't talk about the Warriors first. Like, to me, it's how badly this sucks for Klay. It's like, again, I think he's underrated. I had a conversation with someone the other day but it doesn't know anything, but it clearly just a very casual fan who was just talking about Klay like, oh, he's just like a role player. That, God, come on, man. Like, how can you watch the NBA and say anything like that? This guy is one of the best two-way players in the NBA. Not only one of the best shooters in NBA history, but he's one of the best. He was all defensive team, or he was all NBA, all defensive NBA the year he tore his ACL. That regular season, he was all defense. So is one of the few guys who every night brings. I mean, the dude went back on the court and took a free throw in the finals with a torn ACL. Like, that's the type of if we're going to say warrior, this is the type of warrior we're talking about here when it comes to Klay Thompson. Has a chance to be one of the all-time greats to play the game. He's played 8 seasons. Who knows what the rest of his career looks like when he comes back. Luckily, we're at a point in, I guess, sports history, medical history, where he will play again. And guys come back from injuries now better than ever. But the Achilles is the one where still, like, I still don't, it still seems like the hardest one to come back 100% from.
Yep. And we're about to watch Kevin Durant do it. So that's kind of maybe something to keep an eye on in terms of, like, you know, elite guys coming back from an injury like this, how big the drop off is.
I mean, we mentioned Boogie. Now, Boogie's different because he's a giant. And,
right.
and KD's a giant, but he's skinny, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of body weight from a guy like Boogie coming back from this injury, but I just don't remember a scenario. And I know there's other guys that I'm not thinking of who have torn their Achilles, and I just don't remember anybody ever tearing their Achilles and coming back and being 100% the same.
Yeah.
So, which is not a great sign for KD, by the way, as you mentioned. I'm hoping that he comes back close to what he was, but you know, he was never, and I'm not going to diminish KD as an athlete. KD's a great athlete, but he was never like known for his explosiveness. So, and he's a 7-footer who's also one of the best shooters ever. So you think with his skill set, even at 75, 80%, KD's going to be one of the best players in the NBA. If he comes back at 75, 80% or better.
Right.
Klay, on the other hand, even if he comes back at 75, 80%, that's a big hit for him. Yeah. So we'll see. But it sucks. So now the Warriors have to go into next season. So before we go into what happens with the Warriors going forward after coming off of this, I totally forgot. Is there anything grinding your gears today? Do you have anything grinding your gears?
I do, yeah. It can be short and sweet. Oh.
All right. Well, there you go. What's grinding Alex's gears? We need like a wipe for that now that we have a video.
Oh, yeah, we could do that. I'll work on that, some sort of transition wipe with some actual gears.
Yeah, I feel like anybody who watches this on YouTube is going to be like, what's happening right now?
Yeah. It's real simple. It's LeVar Ball, man. The fact that he's got a platform, like I was clicking around just doing my job today, and LeVar Ball came across my computer screen 3 times. It just sucks. Like, why can't I know this is the opposite of how media outlets work, but why can't we come together and be like, let's not give this guy a platform because he sucks? Like, his kids are so athletic, and like I can't really remember another parent of athletes just bastardizing their kids' talent and making it about them the way this guy does. I think truly LeBron put him in his place a little bit in LA when Lonzo or when LeBron went to LA and Lonzo was there. That was kind of, we heard less from LeVar. So I've always kind of wondered if maybe LeBron's people were like, dude, like, you really got to tone it down, and that happened. But
I'm guessing part of that was that Lonzo wasn't very good.
Maybe, but I mean, LeVar Ball is like the epitome of any publicity is good publicity. Bad publicity is good publicity. I don't know. But this just sucks. I'm glad it's Charlotte, LaMelo Ball. If LaMelo's like really awesome and is tracking a rookie of the year this year, he's going to be in our face like crazy. I'm just not looking forward to it.
Yeah.
The guy's just an asshole.
I'm actually glad that that's what's grinding your gears, because I actually was going to bring this up. It's not, I guess it's kind of, by the way, I noticed this on the video. For anybody watching the video, I look up a lot. It's because my second monitor is above my computer. It's not like a weird tick where I just keep looking up. But LaMelo Ball is a weird looking person.
Yeah.
He is just, and maybe it's partially because we've seen him since he was a kid, and he was even weirder looking when he was a kid. But I saw some pictures. I'm trying to find him if I can pull him up, of him. Like, I don't know if it was from the draft or before the draft. He was wearing some weird like glasses and a chain. He's just a weird looking dude, man. Like, I don't get it. I don't know where. That's just sort of what's grinding my gears.
Okay.
About the Ball family.
See, this is the sort of thing you're not going to get on ESPN or NBA Network. Okay, they're not going to just outright tell you this dude's weird looking.
Well, and here's the thing.
He is.
Here we go. Here's the thing. And here's the thing about us telling you that he's weird looking. We're also going to tell you the very, very attractive men in the NBA, and we're about to talk about one of them here in about a minute, because arguably the most attractive man in the NBA got traded today. So we'll talk about that in a second. But I mean, what are we doing here? This guy.
Holy shit. You know who he looks like? He looks like, in that picture specifically, he looks like the R&B artist from a Goofy movie. Remember?
For those of you who are only listening to the podcast and not seeing, I pulled up a picture of him. Looks like he's in an elementary school, maybe holding up an old picture of him. I don't know. But this is when LaMelo Ball was a child. He wrote this poem: "I dream about going to the NBA. I hope I will be successful. I am athletic and awesome."
That's cool, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of kids write that. So somebody's bound to be right. But he's wearing some, like, I don't know, maybe the ugliest glasses I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
He's got 2 gold chains. He has one Cuban link gold chain and then one very thin gold chain with a Puma logo, because he's with Puma. And his mustache, it's like a pencil thin mustache with like a wispy goatee. He's weird looking, man. That's a weird looking cat.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. He just is. And he has the confidence where that literally doesn't mean anything, probably. But well, I don't know. Yeah, I truly am trying to give this dude a fair shot in terms of.
I mean, he's probably going to be a really good player in the NBA.
Yeah, no. I just mean, I dislike his dad so much because I really have a solid grasp of the person his dad is, I think, that I don't want to project it onto this guy who could be an asshole. Maybe he's a good dude. I don't really know.
Well, the good thing for them is they have sort of taken back control, right? Like when it was Lonzo.
Yeah,
everything was Big Baller Brand and LeVar was running their lives. Now he's with Puma. They've got Big Baller Brand is shut down. LeVar tried to get LaMelo, I believe it was LaMelo, to buy Big Baller Brand, and he said no. Like, so, I think they've realized, like, all right, our dad's a character. First of all, I will say this. He's a good dad. No matter what you think, the guy, I mean, he raised 3 professional athletes, and by all accounts, they're good kids, right? They don't get in trouble. I know, like, the middle one got in trouble in China, right? Or is that what it was?
Yep.
But really no real trouble. Like, they have their heads on straight. They're millionaires. They're set for life. The worst thing about them is that their dad's a loudmouth. Like,
that's fair. Yeah.
He's raised them well. He brought them up. They gave them a good life and made them into, I mean, obviously they had to grow themselves into great athletes, but not everybody's parents, and, not every psycho athlete parent turns their kids into good kids. A lot of those kids go the other way. So, he is, look, he's a clown, and he's trying to now live vicariously through his kids with all this stuff. But you got to give him some credit for being at least raising them the right way.
Lonzo seems like a great dude. I really like Lonzo Ball. I just think he's
rapping. It's terrible.
Yeah, but I mean, that's separate from that is really bad. It just seems like LaMelo has a little bit more like edge to him. So like maybe he's going to throw some curveballs here that we'll be tracking on the Deuce. But those glasses are they could be foreshadowing.
Yeah. All right. That was what was grinding Alex's gears and my gears as well. So back to the Warriors. Klay Thompson's out for the year. So what did the Warriors do? Same day, they have a $17 million traded player exception that they had available to go out and get someone, and they did it. They said they looked around the league. they took a note from Daryl Morey. You know what they did? They said they looked around the league and they said, "Is there a guy out there who would cut off a limb for a first round pick? Is there a general manager out there who would go on a hunger strike just for one more first round pick?" And they looked to Oklahoma City and they said, "Sam Presti, you're our guy. Let's talk. We got a future first round pick that is so protected that there's a good chance we're going to actually end up sending you 2 second round picks." And they traded a $14 million exception and a protected first round pick for Kelly Oubre. By the way, this thing's protected, so it's next year. It's for next year's draft, and they only give it to OKC if it lands in the 20s.
Yep.
If it's anywhere lower, then they get 2 second round picks.
Now, I got to say, like, the last time a GM tried to do this in terms of just clearly, blatantly making his roster worse to lose for a better pick, he got run out of town. Sam Hinkie, I don't care what anybody says, was run out of town because he didn't break any rules, but he admittedly did kind of, I don't know what the correct word is, but the competitive nature of the league was jeopardized a little bit. A team rebuilding like a 24-year-old Kelly Oubre who just averaged 18 points a game and has gotten better from 3 every year of his career. What rebuilding team doesn't need that?
My question was going to be how long until when's too much? When does the league step in and say, all right, like what now? Like, you're clearly not trying to field a competitive team next year.
Right. And we've seen that, seriously, we've seen that one time blatantly with Sam Hinkie. He got the axe.
We did it in Charlotte and we won 7 games and then everyone got fired. It was like, but the league didn't step in.
Right. So I guess it does depend how long they stick with it. Hinkie got like a 3-year leash.
It's got to depend on I feel like it's a market thing too.
Maybe, yeah.
I think the league looks at Philly as a flagship type of organization. Big sports town, lots of press. It's a big media market. Oklahoma City flies under the radar. Look, we talk about Presti a lot on here, and people give Presti a lot of credit. But again, if the same thing happened in Philly and you got eliminated from in the first round 4 years in a row, he'd be fired already. But it's Oklahoma City. They've been eliminated in the first round 4 straight years. Presti's not gone. Billy Donovan was the one who left. He didn't even get fired. He just left. But So I'm just saying, like in OKC, you can get away with that kind of shit. Like the Magic, right? My guy Steve Clifford, they might go to the playoffs every year. They're going to lose in the first round every year. I don't think anyone's getting fired because if Orlando goes to the playoffs, it's like, okay.
Well, because they're clearly trying to be competitive. That's the difference, like.
I understand that. I'm just saying this situation probably will get more of a leash because it's Oklahoma City.
I guess. But dude, Sam Hinkie didn't trade away young talent for nothing. They traded Drew Holiday and they got like the 6th pick back, They traded Thad Young, who wasn't that excellent at the time and wasn't this young. Trading a 24-year-old who seems to be peaking for 2 second-round picks and all. I mean, the Warriors are going to finish in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we're looking at now. Look, so Spot Track, because the deals aren't official, so they haven't updated it here, but they got Rubio, Danny Green, and Oubre are gone. So Steven Adams, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Ferguson's gone, Baisley, Ty Jerome, Mike Muscala, Diallo, Lou Dort.
And how is Kelly Oubre not a piece on that roster? I don't understand.
And Al Horford. Like this team is gonna suck. Like I was having a conversation with another guy, our buddy Debo. I truly believe now. We'll talk about the Rockets in a few minutes. Depending on what happens with the Rockets, looking at last year's standings, right? Like this is going to be the worst team in the West. They're worse than the Timberwolves. And I know the Timberwolves have had their problems, but to me, D'Angelo Russell, Karl Anthony Towns, if Anthony Edwards does anything, they got Ricky Rubio, Malik Beasley if he's not in jail. Like that's a decent team. Houston could be bad depending on what happens if they blow things up completely. Sacramento, I guess if they trade Buddy Hield and they don't bring back Bogdanovic, they could be bad, but they're not worse than OKC.
That's the only possible team I see being worse than them, and I don't think it's going to happen.
Houston gets rid of everyone.
That's true. But yeah, you're
this is the worst team in the West right now. As the rosters all currently stand, they're the worst team, and it's not, to me, particularly close.
No.
So yeah, they're blatantly trying to be a bad team. And I get it. That's what some teams try to do to rebuild. And now you have 50, now you have, I guess, 19 draft picks over the next 6 years. But
I've never seen a team. Yes, teams try to be bad to get better draft picks, but I've never seen a team trade away a 24-year-old who's peaking to be bad. That's messed up. It sounds like I'm talking out of two sides of my mouth because I was so on board with the Sixers tanking situation.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't trade 24-year-olds who look like they might be. Kelly Oubre, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that he's an all-star in 2 or 3 years, right?
I agree.
So why are you trading that guy?
And by the way, I mean, just look at the guy.
Yeah, if
he's not putting asses in seats, I don't know who.
He just is a cool dude. He just has that like it factor where you're like, this guy's cool. Like,
he's got it.
Cool dude.
Yeah. Hey, listen, this guy has absolutely got it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, this is who you were talking about. Yeah, great looking dude.
Yeah,
I was actually scratching. It slipped my mind. I wasn't sure who you were talking about when you brought that up earlier.
I mean, the guy is he's just got a unique look about him.
Yeah.
Like the hair, like light skin with green eyes or something. Hair, it's like, whew.
Yeah. I mean, you want to talk about opposite ends of the spectrum. We're talking Kelly Oubre and LaMelo Ball. Yeah, they could not be further apart.
Yeah. So yeah, they look like they're actively trying to lose. Whereas you look at the Warriors now, you got Steph Curry, Andrew. Their starting lineup looks like it's going to be if they stay relatively the same. Now I think they may have like their mid level that they might be able to go out and get somebody. You're talking about Steph Curry, Steph Curry, Wiggins, Kelly Oubre, Draymond Green, and Wiseman. That's a playoff team. If Steph Curry's healthy and he's Steph, the way he's able to make people better, that's a playoff team.
Oh, easily a playoff team, especially they've won together. They've got team chemistry with Curry, Draymond, Kevon Looney.
I don't know if Looney might not. I don't know if Looney's healthy. But yeah, they have Looney, but they don't have team chemistry. I mean, yes, Steph, Draymond, and Looney. But they got Wiggins, Oubre, the second overall pick, and a bunch of young guys. Like they got some work to do. Now, they're ahead of a lot of teams because they do have 3 guys that have played on multiple championship teams. but they still have some pieces. They got to figure out Wiggins if he fits, and then they're bringing in Oubre, who I think will fit, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, Oubre, the most impressive thing for him, I mentioned earlier, he keeps getting better and better from the 3-point line. So that fits anywhere. So,
I mean, the most impressive thing.
Yeah, that picture that we're looking at here. Guys, if you're listening to the podcast, you're going to want to, what's our time code? We're about 25 and a half minutes.
Yeah.
Just go to YouTube, skip to the 25-minute mark.
Well, if they're listening to the podcast, they know where we're at, brother.
I'm just trying to make it easier. They don't have to tap the screen and look at it.
Okay. Yeah. So the Warriors, and they don't give up anything. It looks like they're probably going to end up giving up a late first-round pick or 2 second-round picks.
I will guarantee you they give up two second-round picks. They're not finishing in the bottom 20.
No. If they finish in the top 20, in the top 10, then they give a first-round pick.
Oh, I thought it was. I'm mixed up.
21 and if the pick's between 20 and 30, they give it.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And if
right. So I'm saying if they make the playoffs, there's a good chance that it could be between 20 and 30.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think they're going to be a playoff team if they're healthy and everything fits. You know what I mean? So we will, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, good Warriors. I guess if there's anything positive that comes out of that today, they obviously are not the same, but Kelly Oubre is a good player. So I love it for them. The Sam Presti thing, I'll never, until they legitimately are able to rebuild and be a competitive team, I'm going to shit on them constantly. I'm not going to stop. Speaking of deals, Mark Stein tweeted out a whole thing today he's credited New York Times and The Athletic and a whole bunch of stuff. The NBA has opened an investigation into the Sacramento Milwaukee deal that was supposed to happen for Bogdan Bogdanovic. I think they're investigating for tampering because Bogdanovic is a restricted free agent. Again, we've talked about this multiple times on the show. How do you have a sign and trade in place for a restricted free agent when free agents aren't allowed to discuss their contracts with teams? So how could you have a deal in place if you're Milwaukee or Sacramento to sign and trade him?
Yeah. And this is what nobody was mentioning that night. That's what was so bizarre,
Yeah.
So I mean, even if they thought they had a sign and trade in place, that would be the definition of tampering because you weren't allowed to contact these guys.
Exactly. And now, so there's two things. Bogdanovic, I guess he has said that he thinks he can get somewhere in the range of $18 million a year, which I think he probably can from somebody. So who knows if that's the deal? I've seen some things that say he does want to play for Milwaukee. So I don't know. There's conflicting stuff there. But the other thing is, I believe Milwaukee waived Ersan Ilyasova. And he was a piece in that trade that they needed to make money work, I think. So I don't know. Bogdanovic might not be going to Milwaukee, even though I think we kind of assumed that this trade was going to happen eventually. With all this stuff, it doesn't. I don't know if he ends up there. And if he doesn't end up there, I'm not sure what the other move is for them to get better. And they just traded 5 first-round picks potentially for Drew Holiday. I'll say it again. I'm not convinced that Giannis is signing that deal.
I'm not either. I'm excited to track this because I really want to know whose fault it is. Somebody messed up really badly.
Do we have any surprise that it's well, no matter who it is, that it's the Kings, even though they do have a new GM who I think came from the Monty McNair came from the Rockets organization, but still. Yeah,
but the thing is, the Bucks on the Bucks end, shouldn't they realize the holdup here and be like,
yeah, this is a mess. We'll see where this heads, but it's not looking good for any of these teams.
I guess both teams can be like, what are you talking about? We never agreed to anything like that. And because it was all reports, I guess that's
that's probably going to be their defense.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Free agency, like I said, starts. Speaking of free agency, it starts tonight at 6 p.m. One unrestricted free agent, Gordon Hayward, opts out of $34 million for his final year of his deal. The Knicks are reportedly aggressively pursuing him. So if you're reading the tea leaves, then you're saying he must have a deal in place with the Knicks.
For a lot of money. That's the other
place with somebody. He must have a deal in place with somebody. And it must be for a lot of money because he's turning down $34 million after not a great year and hasn't really been the same since that devastating injury he had. So this was mind blowing when I saw it. But he must have something. He must have something.
So,
by the way, how does he have anything in place if they're not allowed to talk to teams?
Right. Well, here's something interesting. On Spotrac, I did see this as a footnote for Gordon Hayward. He agreed, and we didn't see this really reported anywhere. He agreed on the 17th. There was a mutual agreement between he and the Celtics to move his deadline for his player option to the 19th. So I'm wondering if he and the Celtics are talking, and they're asking him, hey, can you opt out? So then we have a little bit more wiggle room, maybe a Kemba trade. This is me speculating, by the way. Maybe a trade involving some big money. And then we can sign, you're going to make your money, Gordon. I'm Danny Ainge talking now. You're going to make your money after we get a couple things.
You're starting to talk like me a little bit.
Yeah. That's scary, I guess. But that makes as much sense to me as the Knicks giving this dude a shitload of money. That's something the Knicks would do, but it's just like, oh my God.
Well, the other thing about the Knicks is they waived Taj Gibson. They waived Taj Gibson, Elfrid Payton, and Wayne Ellington, and they did not opt into $15 million of Bobby Portis. So they now have $40 million. They freed up $40 million in cap space. This is what they're working with right now. This is their roster.
Also, what if the Celtics are just messing with the Knicks and he opts out and
they also got Paul Morrow and Toppin, so they added to that. So I guess they got Ed Davis. They traded for Ed Davis, which kind of flew under the radar or whatever.
Well, they need to meet their quota of like 4 or 5 power forwards on the roster at all times. So
that's true. Now they only have one. Oh no, they have Toppin, so they have 2. Kendrick Perkins compared Obi Toppin to Blake Griffin. I don't know if I agree with that, but I do think he's going to be really good. Yeah. Gordon Hayward on this team doesn't make them quite as good as I thought they would be with like a Russell Westbrook or a Chris Paul. So I still wouldn't rule out the possibility of them going after and getting Chris Paul with this money. I mean, excuse me, Russell Westbrook.
Right. That still makes a lot of sense. I'm just thinking,
especially with the next story we're going to talk about.
If you're Gordon Hayward and you're opting out of $34 million, well, I might have just heard a gunshot outside on Fury Road. If you're opting out of $34 million after what happened to your leg, you must know beyond any doubt that you're getting a lot of money coming your way. So not if the Knicks sign, do you think there's any chance the Knicks sign into a max or something like that? Or would it be like a reasonable contract?
I mean, unless it's like unless it's like a long-term deal, but for less, like $25 million a year, something.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like 4-year, $100 million.
That makes some sense.
You know what I mean? So he gets security going forward, because if he opts in and has another bad year, who knows what he can get on the market. But now you got a team like the Knicks who are desperate to bring in names and have a lot of money. You know, maybe he can get a long-term deal for a decent amount. And plus, if you sign I don't know, it could go up. Like, I don't know, with the new cap, the money could go up each year. I don't know. I guess your money sticks no matter what if you sign a deal, but maybe that's the way he's looking at it. Either way, he's got something. Something's happening.
Yep.
He's not opting out if he doesn't know something's coming. So good for him. Hey, again, you look at guys like Paul George, Gordon Hayward, who had these gross injuries, coming back, being healthy and getting money. All power to him. It's crazy to think that the injuries that it's almost like in the moment, you clearly wouldn't want that injury, but it's almost like those type of injuries are better than what Klay and KD are dealing with.
Oh, in terms of your ability to come back from them. Yeah.
It completely snapped like a bone snaps in half in your leg. You're like, I'll take it. Just don't tear my Achilles.
Yeah. That is weird.
That's crazy, right?
Also, what does it say about modern medicine that you can do that to your leg and opt out of $34 million? Like,
dude, I mean, I watched Paul George. I watched that live when he was playing in that. It was a USA team game when he snapped his leg, and I was like, "It's done. He's done. It's over. Never plays again." And we're seeing it in the NFL now, right? Like the Cowboys are so bad that Dak's going to get the money he's been trying to get coming off of a snapped leg.
Yep. I think
regardless, without even playing a game, which obviously, guys, I know it's an NBA show, but I'm just, hammering home the point. Like, he will not play a game and he'll get a boatload of money because of how bad this team is without him. And they're just assuming that his leg will be fine, which it probably will be, because these guys are freak, just genetically, they're freaks to make it to that level. But like you said, medicine allowing you to do that is crazy.
Nuts.
All right, our last story for today. This came out just a little bit before we actually recorded this. It started to pick up some steam, I guess, on the Hoop Collective podcast, which is Mr. Windhorst's show that he runs. Tim McMahon, who's been sort of the Rockets reporter, who's been sort of spearheading a lot of the Rockets talk lately, is saying that the Rockets are prepared to move on without James Harden. Just a couple days after Woj said that they expect him to be in camp, that the reports came out that they were willing to get uncomfortable, and now he's saying a couple things. One, he's saying that they're prepared to move on without Harden, but they're also saying Harden will not dictate the trade. Yes, we understand he doesn't want to be here, so he's gone, but he is not going to say, we're not going to take 60 cents on the dollar just because you want to go somewhere. We're going to be patient, and we're going to make the right deal. And that they're looking for some type of draft pick package similar to what Drew Holiday commanded, plus young players.
I truly believe right now that Brooklyn and Philly are in a huge bidding war. And that's like, basically, I think, Houston has all the leverage because Brooklyn and Philly want this guy so bad. And I think they're just waiting for the absolute Godfather offer.
Yeah. Did Dallas give Philly a pick in the I'm sorry, I gotta change this graphic. Did Dallas give Philly any picks in the Josh Richardson trade?
I don't believe so. I should know
because
that.
They got a first rounder in the Horford deal.
Right. No, they got Seth Curry. Hold on, I can get it right here.
So I'm just wondering, like, when we looked at, so on draft night, we're looking at Daryl Morey and we're like, this guy's a genius. He pulled off this deal to get these shooters, but maybe the genius was that he was also getting these picks to potentially move to get James Harden.
Right. Now it looks like they only gave up Richardson and the Tyler Bay pick in that deal.
Right. But what did they get back?
Oh yeah. It I think it's just Seth Curry. Shit.
So they traded 2 players to get Seth Curry.
I'm all over the place. Not navigating Spotrac correctly right now.
Morey sent Al Horford. The Sixers sent Josh Richardson, number 36, in exchange for Seth Curry. I don't know if more has come out since then, but Shams' tweet said it was just for Seth Curry. So I don't know do you know what their future draft pick situation is in Philly?
I don't think it's great. No, it's not like it used to be where they have all these, like they gave up that Heat 2021 pick that was super valuable. I think that may have actually been in the Josh Richardson deal. I'm not really sure.
Right.
Originally when they got it, that sign and trade with Jimmy Butler. No, they have all their own picks as far as but they're not sitting on all that treasure trove of like first rounders that they had at one point.
Yeah.
Obviously the gem in the trade would be Ben Simmons, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So they give up Ben Simmons and a ton of picks.
You might not even see Seth Curry in a Philly jersey in that deal.
Right.
They have to make the money work. What does Simmons make?
30. So and Harden's at like well, that's actually part of my trivia question, so I won't. But it'd have to be Simmons and some more money and some picks.
But what I sort of alluded to this earlier, but based on this report, I got to think Russ is probably going to be gone too. So I wonder if New York is still clearing space, and that's really who they're angling for. So I'm still holding out hope that James Harden, I know you want him in Philly. I'm holding out hope that he ends up in Brooklyn and Russ ends up in New York. And then all three of those guys are all in that area playing against each other. That would be, for the fun of the league, that would be the best situation. For Philly, obviously, getting James Harden would be great. Although I will say this. I like what Daryl Morey's doing. And as currently constructed today, the team is much better than it was a couple days ago in terms of building around Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. So James Harden obviously makes you better if you're swapping James Harden for Ben Simmons, but what right now, if your starting lineup going into the season is Simmons, Seth Curry, Danny Green, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid, Maxey off the bench, Matisse Thybulle off the bench, it's pretty good. It's better than last year.
Shake Milton.
Right.
He's still there.
It's better than last year's team.
Yeah. I just think it makes a lot. If you were going to do something like this is the time because of Tobias Harris's contract, like you're not starting over anytime soon, so just go for it. Just give up the house in terms of first round picks to get James Harden if you can. I'm sure they're trying to.
Oh, Terrence Ferguson. How do we forget?
Terrence Ferguson, yep, 22 years old. Not very good.
Historically bad.
Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap up with trivia real quick. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. Mine's pretty straightforward. Okay. Joey, can you name the 5 players that are set to make at least $40 million this season?
John Wall.
1.
Chris Paul.
2.
James Harden.
3.
Are the other ones obvious? LeBron?
Yeah, no. LeBron's at 39. I actually thought John Wall was the tricky one. I knew his contract was outrageous, but I did not know he was set for $41.2 million.
John Wall immediately was the first one that came to mind.
Really?
How absurd his contract is. John Wall, Chris Paul, James Harden,
Russell Westbrook.
Holy shit, dude! They got 2 guys making 80.
Yeah. And you're missing the number 1 guy who will come to you soon, I'm sure.
Kawhi?
No. Kawhi's around 30.
I said
LeBron. No, LeBron's at 39. I mean the guy making the most money this year you're missing.
In the NBA?
Yep.
Really? Giannis? No, not Giannis?
No.
Who is it? I don't know.
Steph Curry, 43 for Steph. 4 point guards. Yeah. And James Harden, who's...
I don't get it, man. I don't get it. I just don't understand. There's so many good point guards. There are so many good point guards in the NBA. Teams are hamstringing themselves by signing these point guards to these deals.
Yep. So
Steph Curry, I understand, but but he's a different player. He's unique. He's one of the best players to ever play the game, right? But these other guys, although like Russ and Chris Paul are Hall of Famers, $40 million a year, it's got to be. It's 2 things. 1, overvaluing of in my opinion, overvaluing of the point guard position, and 2, just the lack of actual star players in the NBA. There's only so many, and when they start teaming up with each other, teams have to they have money, they're going to spend it.
Yep.
Which is part of the problem too. There's just not enough. Even if every elite player played on a different team, there's still not enough players for every team to have an elite player. I don't think.
No, yeah, definitely not an elite player. There's not 30 elite players in my mind.
Exactly. So, do you want me to do mine?
Yeah, no, that's impressive.
Mine's a little more like yours this week.
Okay.
Last season, 12 players in the NBA averaged 18 points, 6 rebounds, and 1 steal. Okay? 12. 10 of them were all-stars.
Okay.
Can you name the 2 who were not?
18
points, 6 rebounds, and 1 steal.
I mean, the all-stars are, like Kawhi, Paul George, Ben Simmons.
Not Paul George, Kawhi. not Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons averaged 2 steals. He didn't get the.
I don't think he averaged 18.
Oh, he was probably like 16 point something. All right, non-All-Stars.
I'll give you a hint. You want a hint?
Yeah, I need a hint.
One of them is really good looking.
Kelly Oubre.
Yeah.
Wow. Kelly Oubre.
Actually, the other one is also very good looking and has probably the sexiest voice in the NBA.
Jaylen Brown.
There you go.
Wow. That's weird that I got I got that based off the sexiest voice thing.
There it is.
Wow.
Now-
That's a good list to be on there.
Now I'll do this. And this is because we talked about Kelly Oubre so much. When you add in 35% from 3, do this.
God, look, this show is dynamic.
6 players, and
Yeah.
Kelly Oubre and Jaylen Brown still on the list.
Wow, Pascal Siakam. Wow, okay.
Well, he had a great regular season.
Yeah.
Regular season. How about that list? 2 Celtics.
James
Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Jason Tatum, Pascal Siakam, Jaylen Brown, and Kelly Oubre. Only players in the NBA last year, 16 points, 18.6 rebounds, a steal, and 35% from 3.
Dude, how do you give that up?
I know.
Sam Presti, what are you doing, dude?
I know.
That's a bad trade. That is a bad trade.
And by the way, Phoenix was good last year. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like, oh, Kelly Oubre is having, and by the way, I will caveat this a little bit by saying his numbers were the lowest on this list.
Mm-hmm.
But he's still on the list.
He's also was not the primary scorer on his team. Like, that's.
I know. Yeah. I mean, obviously, on a team that didn't value him that much. Well, I guess they did value him. They traded him for Chris Paul. But there you go. I mean, so it just hammers home our point even more. Essentially giving up potentially 2 second-round picks for a guy who could be he's not a franchise player, but could be an all-star level player and, you know, maybe a cornerstone type piece for a young organization. I'll tell you what, they would have needed his scoring if they wanted to be competitive this year.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have many guys who can go and get a bucket the way he can other than Shea.
Yep. Oh, it's crystal clear they do not want to be competitive.
Yeah. Crazy. All right. So that's it for this episode. We'll I'm sure we're going to have a ton of stuff to cover on Sunday because free agency starts tonight at 6:00. It's not a huge free agency class, so there won't be too much craziness, I don't think. But, you know, I'm sure the Rocket situation will update. And go to the Underdog on YouTube and check us out if you want to check us out on video. Videos will be up 5 days a week, starting today. And if you're still listening to the podcast, go ahead and subscribe, rate, and review. And we'll see you Monday morning. Later.